I don't want to start before everybody's ready. Just a reminder, haven't gotten to address you very much, so, and certainly not directly since the opening statement. My name's Jeffrey Dean. That's my name. As you know, I've been representing Mr. Louis Toledo. So has my co-counsel, Michael Nappy, and my other co-counsel, Michael Nielsen. It's been our job to represent Louis Toledo. That's what we do. We're very thankful that you all decided to commit and do your duty in this case. It's very hard. If you remember in my opening statement, if you can remember back that far, I told you this was going to be hard. It was going to be real. Real people. You saw the pictures right before you went to lunch. You saw it. I saw your reaction to it. I know this is hard. We all knew, before you knew, of course, that this was going to be awful. I think I even said in my opening statement that we're going to start with terrible. We're going to start with terrible. Because murder cases are terrible. So we do, in our system, what we do is we call citizens to come in and we ask them to do their duty. We ask them to take an oath that they're going to believe in a system and that you're going to believe in that system and that you're going to honor that system with your oath. And then you're going to do it. You're going to follow the law. I told you before, we're counting on you to follow the law. We're counting on it. This judge is counting on it. These good prosecutors are counting on it. My colleagues are counting on it. I'm counting on it. Mr. Toledo's counting on it. Now, I know you've heard. We're all here together. I know. Let me say this to you. I'm trying not to be patronizing because I don't want to be, but you don't know me. So what I want to say is that what I'm about to tell you is really heartfelt. But you don't know me, so I understand that. So please understand, I'm not being patronizing. But we've asked you to do an extraordinary. There's only one way we can do that. There's only one way we're allowed to ask you. There's only one way this judge has the authority to ask you to do it. There's only one way that law enforcement would ask you to do it. I mean, you don't know us. You don't know me. You don't know my background. You don't know anything about me. You know me from in here. You don't know those prosecutors. You don't know them. You know them from in here. But in trials like this, it's always, right? It's always good versus bad. I mean, it's bad. But I also told you in my opening statement that we didn't get to talk about it, especially in your request. And we were going to contest every single notion of this case. And we have. And I'm about to sum up that argument for you. But I want you to please understand that what we're going to ask you to do is very important. We believe in a process. We believe in it. We count on this process. These prosecutors could not ask you to do what they are going to ask you to do if they didn't have a firm belief in this process. This judge could not instruct you on law if he didn't believe in this process. Who could hear facts like this and say they're given a fair trial if they didn't honor and honestly believe in this process? So I believe in this process. I believe it matters. I think you all told us it matters to you. This process matters. And some of what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the facts. I am. Look, I had a mentor who was he went a trial not like this, not this long, but a long trial. And we were going over the stuff with the judge before we did our closing arguments. We were talking about how long it would take, and he looked at me and he said, Mr. Dean, less is more. There's nothing quite as aggravating as a lawyer talking with their client. I got you. Please understand, I'm going to move quickly, but I have to be thorough about it. This is a real thing. Real people were here. I saw how emotional you are. You've been emotional. This happened to somebody. This gallery is full of people that suffered because of it. It happened. What's the process? Now, I've said it out loud. I'll say even more than that. Jeff, kids die. Adults take care of kids. I understand they had a terrible day. Kids die, Jeff. Okay, now I've said it. Kids die. Adults take care of kids. If that doesn't change the problem, then I implore you, more than you've ever thought about doing, we are counting on you to follow the law. I'm going to tell you what I think the law is. This judge is going to instruct you on the law. I'm going to show you some things that I know he's going to tell you. In fact, when I turn that thing on, I don't have a fancy calculator. New technology, right? So mine is a Word document. You're going to see the Word toolbar. Putting it up there, I'm going to show it to you. And I want you to understand it. It's the instructions the judge is going to give you. You can have a copy of it back there. There are the big things that we worry about. There are these huge things we worry about, like murder. But then there's also law of this case. This judge is going to explain to you how to deliberate and what things you're allowed to consider and what you're not allowed to consider. He's going to tell you what to look at, what not to look at, what you're allowed to disregard, and what you're not allowed to disregard. He's going to tell you, well, I'm going to show you. Deaf kids die. You're allowed to be mad about that, or sad about that, or sympathetic, or empathetic, as you possibly want to be. You're allowed to be that. We're right. We're all real people. You don't know me. When you see those pictures, you're allowed to react emotionally. That's it. Of course you are. Here's why you get to. This is why you get to. Because you've taken an oath that says, have the feeling. I'm going to follow the law. And the law is going to tell you point blank. This isn't an interpretation of the law. This isn't something you have to extrapolate or infer. The law point blank says you can't return a verdict if you're mad or sympathetic and you feel sorry for them. That's not law. It's not. First day of this trial was emotional for us. Ms. Fred took that stand. That's a mother. That's a grandmother. And what she's been through is I'm saying it. And the reason I can say it is because you've taken an oath that says you're going to follow the law. You're not going to disregard your emotions or hurt. Your verdict could be based on it. Has to be based on the evidence you've given before. When you give it to presented and the evidence. That's what you're counting on. Because anything else would not be a lawful verdict, and the judge will tell you that. In those exact words. So now I've put it out there. Defense lawyers, You know, sometimes people think we're selling cars and I'm trying to spin stuff. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm telling you outright. Here's what my intention is. Here's what I'm going to try to do on that stuff. I'm going to review the evidence. I'm going to tell you what I think that evidence is, and I'm going to point to it specifically. You may remember testimony or something differently than me. I am not trying to mislead you. You just may remember it differently, and I'll tell you right now, go with your memory. If you think I'm wrong, go with your memory. But I don't think we'll be wrong. There's a lot of evidence in this case. And there's a whole big problem in this case because a lot of the evidence that's in here, so it's called evidence, isn't evidence of anything. It just isn't. Now, the state attorney showed you the elements of first-degree murder. He showed you that. Let me show you again. I told you in my opening statement, proof of death is not proof of murder. Murder is a crime. Death is an element of that crime. When you are looking at the onslaught of facts that were presented, you have to say to yourself, what did this prosecutor show me that for? And what did it prove? He stood here a minute ago. He stood here a minute ago, and he said this night, he's heard all about this night, and he said to you, this night has no evidentiary value. You know why? Because it doesn't. And I'll tell you, I'll point to the testimony. I asked that detective, A.J. Pagliari, when he was on the stand, you know about this night, yeah. What relevance does it have to anything? His exact answer was, nothing. I don't believe anything. Nothing that I know of. This night is another thing that's thrown at you because you're allowed the lack of evidence or conflict in the evidence. That's the reasonable doubt instruction. I'm going to show it to you. The judge is going to read it. The evidence itself, the lack of evidence, or conflict in the evidence. Why is this not going to do? Because you're going to be overwhelmed with facts that don't matter. Because when you selected on this jury, everyone said it's circumstantial evidence. It's circumstantial evidence. This isn't direct evidence. This is circumstantial evidence. That's fine. That's legal evidence. If it exists. It's just because you throw things out there. Circumstantial evidence has to be based in fact. And he can't, the state can't, make you infer anything from it. That's what he did. Why did he throw it out of his car? I don't know. Why did he throw it out of his car? They're supposed to tell you that. They're not supposed to ask you that and then just leave it. But here it is. Talked about it. Look at that ugly thing. Here it is. Here it is. There's nothing. There is no murder weapon. This isn't the murder weapon. You know why I can say that? Because you've heard all the evidence, and not one single bit of testimony said that it is. Not one single bit of scientific evidence said that it is. It's just an ugly knife that he threw out of his car when he saw it. Well, he's guilty of what? Of what? This isn't even evidence of evidence tampering. This isn't even evidence of count 4. Because it's not anything. There it is. The red hand. There's a whole bunch of them. You've been inundated with minutia. It doesn't matter. Because what matters is, in count 1 and 2, there are 3 elements to first-degree murder. That's what matters. Every bit of the evidence has to go to an element. And if they don't prove every element, you can't do it for them. And you said you wouldn't. You can't do it for them. So when you get shown something like this, he doesn't get to ask you, why did you throw it out of his car? I don't know. You know why I don't know? You're not told. There's a big deal out of it. You've seen it a bunch of times. This is not evidence of anything. It's just a lie. It's an ugly mess. It means nothing. It means nothing. So what I'm going to do is go through the evidence. I think it's important to do that. Here's the state's theory, as I understand it. There's some technical problems with it, but as I understand it, here's the state's theory. One thing that happened is that I'm not out of hands and I'm not being sarcastic. But is there anybody in this room that followed this trial for more than a day that doesn't believe that Louis Toledo and his wife were having marital problems? Some of it, most of it at the end was caused because she had an affair and lied to him. Does anybody not believe that? I'm not asking you to tell me. It's a rhetorical question. How many days, how many hours of testimony, including yesterday, was that shown over and over and over again? I will say it is my belief that the evidence proves that they were having marital problems and she was having an affair without telling him beyond a reasonable doubt. That's direct evidence. It goes to what they said. It's there. It's not an element of anything. It doesn't prove any of the elements of the crime. It doesn't show any of that. But that was a fact that was proven over, over, and over again. Now the state's theory is, put up the second-degree murder instruction, and the state's theory is that he acted out of a depraved will because he was so mad, it was building up in him, When they finally had an argument, he acted out of a depraved mind and ill will because of this affair. Now, you have to remember something. He's not charged with first-degree murder for killing his wife. That charge is second-degree murder. What the prosecutor described for you is first-degree murder. Premeditated murder. He thought about it, he had a motive to do it, and he did. He's not charged with that when it comes to his wife. Ill will, thought about it, he finally did it. That's contemplating a fully formed intent. He's not charged with first-degree murder for killing his wife. He's charged with second-degree murder for killing his wife. I want to play a few minutes of the statement from 1024, just from the beginning, just a few minutes of it. I'm not playing a bunch of it, but I want you to see something. So please pay attention to Mr. Toledo after they read his rights. Try to listen again to what he says on 1024. This is the second interview, the long one, where he says what happened. Okay? So just watch. Watch. Go back in time and watch these people. And watch him. Okay? You know when you're ready. Yes, it went off while I was.
Right, Your Honor.
Me and you have been doing it since the beginning. All we've done is gone home, changed some clothes, and now we're back. Because ultimately, we're still looking for your wife and the 2 kids. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you coming down again today. Voluntary type deal. You know, you don't want to talk to us, but I know that you know that the ultimate goal here is to find out where your wife and your kids are. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. We told you yesterday, well, kind of in a sense recap for me yesterday what we told you as far as the part of your story that we're having some difficulty with. You know, do you remember what we were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Have you thought a little bit about that and why somebody is saying something? If I show you, I want to show you a couple of things. First off, is it okay if I put these pictures of your family back up? Would you like to see them? Okay, there's your wife. And your son. And your daughter. Okay. I need you to tell me what happened.
That was a comment.
That was fine.
Yeah, I don't know where yet.
We're going to do this, okay? I'm going to talk you through this, alright? Because again, I want to make sure that we're doing this right. I want to make sure that we find out where his kids are and what happened, alright? You feel me? You follow me? So I need you to tell me yes or no. I'll ask you some questions, okay? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used as evidence against you. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have the right to talk to an attorney and have him verbally you now or any time during questioning. You cannot afford an attorney who will be appointed to represent you. Do you understand?
Yes.
If at any time you wish to stop talking or have an attorney present, all questioning will be stopped at your request. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
For these rights of mine, are you willing to continue to talk to me about what happened?
sure you can help yourself know that. Please help us, Finley.
Is there any way that I do want to continue to talk to y'all, but I want to tell y'all everything.
Okay.
Is there any way that you can get one down here just so I can run it down to him first and tell
Listen,
him?
we can't do that. And two, we don't have time for that. Our priority right now is this. So if you want to talk to us and continue to help us find them, that's your option, okay? But you need to start looking at the bigger picture here. I think you already know what position you're at right now. So if you wish to continue, we will continue, okay? Because this is our priority. You understand? Please help us in life. It's done and we've done. So can we please get this out? Can we please work towards finishing this? Please.
So, listen. I know you guys are not here to help me. Okay, I know that's one. I know this is not about me. Okay?
You're right. Right now, it's about
let me
family.
speak.
Go ahead.
Let me speak.
Go ahead.
Okay? I know, and I'm going to tell y'all the truth. And I know that y'all still going to try to use it against me. Y'all still going to try to make me like a murderer. Because they murdered my family. But I'm going to tell y'all, it's like they murdered my family. Will never murder my family. Never. I never put my hands on my wife. But I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I just want to get it over with. I can sleep. I need a rest. Everything happened. Like I told y'all for the time that I went to the job. Until I left to the cemetery, I came back to the front of the house. Like, maybe like 2, 3 in the morning. So I tell Sean pull up. I told him I was having problems. He came over, was talking to me. I said, fuck it. I know my wife hates when I play PS3. That's her most hated thing. She hates that. So I told her, fuck it, we all go in the house and play. I don't care if she get upset. So I walked to the room, I turned on the light. A lot of my stuff was packed up already in the house. But I had some stuff that was packed up. So, by the door was the axe that I told you about. So I saw it. And, I moved it because I didn't want, her to be upset, whatever, and come at me with it. So I moved it. And I put it by the bathroom. So she got it where she saw that Sean, she started going off on me, whatever, and she told that she wanted everybody to leave, she wanted me to get out the house. I told her I didn't have to go. I said I was tired of her and that I was going to take her to divorce and everything. I didn't want to work nothing out with her anymore. I was tired of her playing these games with me. I was tired. I was doing nothing right by her. That's for her and the kids. With me, I started arguing. She came at me, she grabbed me in the back. I got these scratches back here. She grabbed me from the back. She got upset. I got so tired of her grabbing on me. I couldn't get her up with the neck. She fell out on the floor holding her neck looking at me. He couldn't breathe. She stopped breathing. She stopped breathing. She died looking at me. Couldn't help. I couldn't help her. She was looking at me. I was like, no, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. The kids came out of the room because of the scream. So I said, Sean, take him over there. Please take him. They took him to the room. He came back out here and asked me if she was dead. I said, yeah. He went back to the bathroom. I heard blah, blah, blah. I went over there. He had the fucking thing in his hand. He hit my kids in the hand. There was blood everywhere. I told him, what the fuck did he do? He told me, you can't go to jail for my wife's murder. The kid saw it. I said, oh my God. I said, son, you killed my kids. Fucking, you killed my kids. He told me, man, oh God, so good, bro. Just get them, put them together or something, man. He said, he knows Sanford, the swamps and everything. You can get rid of them. So he took the shovel, he put them in the car in the truck. I helped him carry them. And he left and I started cleaning everything up. Cleaned everything up. He came back and went to dump the rainbow. When we dumped the rainbow, I dumped that stuff right there with him. I told him we had to go back because this piece here was gonna show that they were in trouble. But we went back together. That was it. I didn't hurt my babies, I swear. I didn't hurt my babies. Oh my God.
So the state's theory is, what Mr. Johnson has said, is that on the 23rd he gave a statement, obviously was not right. Everyone knows that. Then he went back to the jail, and he stayed up all night, and he made that up. You have to look at him and see how he was. He was sobbing. Mr. Johnson said that. He looked ashamed at the beginning. Look, this means that this is the theory. It has to be the theory because it's the only theory that they've offered you. Is that Mr. Toledo, to his wife, but not, he didn't think about it first. He snapped, that's second degree murder, not first degree murder, that he then killed his kids by himself. So we're going to talk about that. That's the theory. He did it alone. Tyshawn Jackson had nothing to do with it. So let's talk about that. Let's just get into it now. Let's just get into it now. Let's see if the evidence matches the theory. This is the timeline that the prosecutor showed you. Okay, this is the timeline the prosecutor showed you. It starts at 8:51 with Yesenia and Kevin Dredden doing tweets. Look, forget all that. It's proven that they were having an affair. Okay? Here's the part of the timeline, the only part of the timeline that matters right now, because we're talking about murder. We're not talking about death. We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about murder now. First degree murder. Second degree murder. Here it is. He did it alone. He did it by himself. There was no Tyshawn. This is the timeline that matters. 103, because that's the call to Kevin. And you know she did that. Okay? 103. 702. Louis Toledo sends an apologetic text. It's not even 702. It's 5 to 5:30. Because why? Because that's when he shows up at his brother's. So now the timeline has to be, he killed his wife, he killed his kids by himself, and he did that Because if you remember the testimony, I'm just going to recollect it for you. If you remember the testimony to Detective Pagliari was, what time did they die? I don't know. Remember what I did? Did they die at 1? No, she didn't die at 1 because the call was at 1:02. Remember what I did? How about 1:05? I don't know. How about 2? I don't know. How about 5? I don't know. They don't know the time. Now look, state attorneys charge people whenever they want. When they bring an indictment, they tell you they have the evidence. So if they don't have the evidence, it's not your fault. It's not my fault, being a defense lawyer. I'm not spinning it. They file it when they want to. And when they file it, they tell you they have the evidence. That means it. So this got filed based on the theory that Louis Toledo killed his kids at an unknown time between 1 and 5 to 5:30. That was what Detective Pagliari said. But when? I don't know. But this has to be the timeline now. This has to be it. But he just got arrested that morning. So it's 1:03, really 1:04. Max it out. 1:04 to 5:30. So to max out the time for him to be by himself, max out the time. Immediately upon the end of that call, that's not the evidence, but to give him the most time. The evidence is he had an argument, they had an argument, she jumped him or came at him or whatever it is that she did, because you don't know what she did other than what he said. He showed the little thing on his neck. Okay? But let's pretend that took 10 seconds. Because the next minute is when he did it. He has to max out the time. So at 1:04 alone, he struck and killed his wife. There is, this kind of gets me. I want to make sure that we never lose sight of this. I'm the one asking these questions to the detective. The state didn't do that. I asked him point blank. Do you have any evidence that Louis Toledo killed his children? What did he say? No. I stopped talking. The state attorney, when he got a chance, got back up there as fast as he could and said, well, you didn't mean there wasn't circumstantial evidence. He goes, no, there is. What's the evidence that Louis Toledo killed everybody? That was the question. So the next question that the state attorney asked is, well, tell us what that no, it wasn't. That good detective got on this stand under oath and answered my question truthfully. Is there any evidence that Louis Toledo killed his kids? No. He didn't say, well, there's circumstantial evidence. He said no. The state attorney tried to save him, but didn't ask him what the evidence was. You don't know it. Now, you may get to know it. I will tell you this. The state attorney comes up after me. Remember in my opening statement, I said, please don't decide. You got to wait till the end. You just have to wait. You have to wait, because we go last. Except now, we don't go last. The state attorney goes last. So, he's gone over the whole case with you. And he's waiting for me to sit down. But maybe then he'll tell you what the circumstantial evidence was. But guess what? He's not allowed to do that. Unless he's actually saying the evidence. But you already know there isn't any evidence, because the detective said there isn't any. Anything that the state attorney says is not evidence. Anything I say to you is not evidence. The evidence is the evidence. So when he says to you something that he calls circumstantial,
but it's not based on a fact and requires you to infer something, that's not circumstantial evidence. That's like that knife. Look at this knife. Okay? Does it show that somebody died? Does it show that the person died was one of the two children or Yesenia Suarez? Does it show that? Does the evidence show that? Does it show premeditation? He thought about killing his kids and he did. The state's theory is at sometime between 1:04 and 5:30, maxing it out, he did this by himself. Now the evidence is, and the only evidence there is, most all of the evidence that there is, has come because Louis Toledo told him. And now the state attorney says, well, believe this part of the statement, but don't really believe that part. So what now you have to do, if you believe that Louis Toledo did this alone, what now you have to do is substitute somehow what he said Tyshawn did, meaning he did it. Okay? Let's do that. There's no evidence of that, but let's do that, because that's the theory. He did it alone, he did it all alone. At 1:04, to max out the time, he killed his wife and kids. He must have done it instantly. If he did it instantly, he then wrapped up all the bodies by himself. He then loaded those bodies into the car by himself, alone. He did all of that by himself. He either had to clean the house or take care of the bodies. We don't know which one, but he had to do them both. He had to do them both because he's by himself. How long did it take to wrap the bodies, put them in the car, go back in? We've heard an awful lot about how hard somebody cleaned that house. How long did that take? If you go by the testimony, these children were struck in the head. They were bleeding in the bathroom. The evidence technicians came in and said there were some drops. They found some drops, but somebody had cleaned. Here's what they didn't find. In the tile, there's the grout. There's no blood in the grout. They removed the baseboards because the blood flows and so it goes under. The baseboards are dry and there's no blood under the baseboards. One of the children was in the tub. Check the drain tray. There's no blood in the drain tray. They checked every sink. Nothing. And you know, because Louis Toledo told you, that Tyshawn and he did stuff and that he cleaned the house. I'm not making an argument about that. What I'm telling you is that the state's theory is he did this all by himself in this amount of time. But honestly, it's not this amount of time. If you believe, because the only evidence before you is one time, and it was in the 3:00 a.m. hour that this happened, because that's when you went into the house with Tyshawn. So now it's not really 4 hours, because the only time marker you have is what Lewis said. But let's max it out. Now he's got to clean that whole house up, bag up all that stuff, bag it all up, take it to 2 different places. And you know what else he's got to do? He's got to do something with those bodies. The testimony is from Detective Ford. They covered 90 plus square miles. So, in the middle of the night, on the 23rd of October, Louis Toledo laid in a jail bed and planned it all out. That's not possible. I'm sick. That's not possible. He did such a good job by himself. They covered 90 square miles, and to this day, you know they're not here. By himself. After or knowing that he has to clean this house, that he has to bag up this stuff, and he has to do something with that. Now, this doesn't even count the driving. He's in the car, but we don't know where. He's in the car for some of this. So some of it is downtime, he's driving. If it started at the 3 o'clock hour, he has now done this in 2.5 hours. The truth is you don't know when it was, because the evidence is the detective doesn't know when it was. The only time you have is what Louis Toledo said, in the 3 o'clock hour. The state attorney says, believe this, don't believe that. Believe this, but don't believe that. Believe this, don't believe that. The state attorney, well, that was mentioned in this. But they went and disposed of the ring. We have to go back. I forgot this part. He says that's inconsistent. I don't know what that means. Well, what if it is? Because the timeline is the timeline. I said to you in my opening statement, please go by the things, the little things, the things you can pick up on your own, where the testimony doesn't change no matter who's saying it. The time's the time. That's not defense attorney spinning it. This is the time. All of this doesn't matter. All of this, too late. It's this, 103 to 530. That arrow and that arrow. Those two arrows, that's the timeline. Because according to the state, he did this by himself. That simply is not the evidence. What is the evidence? The evidence is that Louis Toledo, Tyshawn Jackson, went into his house at 3 in the morning. Got in an argument with his wife, and you just heard it. That's the evidence. Have details changed about where they went to drop stuff and who threw the weapon? Yeah, they did. Louis Toledo is guilty of evidence tampering. That's not murder. It's not murder. The evidence is that he went in there, they got in an argument, you saw this. Tyshawn Jackson was there, and Tyshawn Jackson killed his kid. That was the evidence. That's all the evidence. That's always been the evidence. I've asked every detective that was my witness, has he ever changed from that number? Has he ever said he killed no? Never did. Never said he killed his kid. Who did he say killed his kids? Tyshawn Jackson. Over and over and over and over and over. Now, let's take a second and talk about Tyshawn Jackson and that timeline. You have to be wondering why he was called back yesterday for that little brief thing that we did with him. And the reason is because Mr. Jackson got caught. And that's where he got caught. And I find it amazing, honestly amazing, that every single thing that the state attorney says about why you should not believe Mr. Toledo applies to Tyshawn Jackson. Every single thing he says. Not a consistent statement, you give him multiple stories, you have him be truthful the whole time. Let's talk about that for a second. Because the state attorney has told you that they did this alone. The police have said, I don't think he did it. They reached that conclusion. But I will submit to you that they didn't follow the evidence. And here's the evidence. I'm not making this up. Again, if you think I am, you go by your own. You go by your own memory. Please. Please do that. It is evidence in this case that Tyshawn Jackson, on the morning of the 23rd, was up at 3 in the morning. You know that? Yes, you do. Why? He says he called his girlfriend. They showed you the deleted call. That was something you saw yesterday. And these things pass so quickly because it's so much, and they read the text. There's so much, but here's the evidence. He was up. You know he was up. I'm not saying he was up. That phone record said he was up and he called his girlfriend. Now he's up. Do you expect him to say anything that has to do with Louis Toledo after this? You know what he does with that call? It's so bizarre to me. He deletes that call. Why does he delete that call? I'm doing what the state... I don't have to prove it to you. I'm asking the question to the state attorney. I'm asking the question. Why does he delete the call? Oh, he's scared of it. How would Louis know? How would Louis know? Did he call his girlfriend at 3 in the morning, unless they were together? Or did he saw him talking on the phone, like he said? So now you know he was up. Talk to Tyshawn's mother. Remember when she testified a while back? And I said, you know, they made that big deal about getting up in the middle of the night to eat. Okay. She got up, she checked on him, and he was asleep then, or he was in bed. So she wasn't up when he was up. His mother gets up at 5:30-ish, remember, to get ready for work. She's in her room. Tyshawn says at 6:11 is when Louis Toledo came to his house and knocked on his window. Mom doesn't know that. She's awake. She doesn't know that happened. Because she looks in on him when she leaves and he's not there. He's not there. I'm going to submit to you he wasn't there. He was never there. Louis Toledo says he was with him. He was across the street. That's what Louis says. There's no other testimony other than that. And Tyshawn, who says he wasn't. His mother says, it bothered me he didn't have his phone. Tyshawn Jackson left his phone. Did you hear how much he uses that phone? He calls his girlfriend all the time. He calls his mama all the time. He's got that phone. He's calling when the police are there. He didn't take that phone with him. Are you kidding me? He didn't take that phone with him. Well, listen to this. You know what he did take? Money. How do you know he took money? Because he went to 7-Eleven and bought a cigar. Gets his money, leaves his phone. The evidence is the evidence. You can believe all of it, some of it, or none of it. That's the testimony, that's the evidence. He then says he takes a car ride with Lewis to Sanford. He takes a car ride. To the Lake Mary Publix. I know you all know where that is. He takes a car ride without his phone. He's following Louis Toledo to this Publix parking lot. Okay? That's the Publix. But that's not what he says he does. He said he lost sight of Louis Toledo in this area. And what he does is he goes down this road and he turns right down this road, and this map doesn't have how far he went, because at the end of this is a college, and he went to the college, and it's further down than the map shows. He lost sight of Louis Toledo. And then what he says he does is that, remember, he said he turned around and he came back and he looks in the parking lot and he sees him, and that's how he knows where he is. And then he pulls in. He doesn't have his phone. This is by luck now, if you believe Tyshawn Jackson. This happened by luck. He lost sight of him. He didn't know where they were going. He goes down the wrong road. He sees he's at the college. He turns around and comes back. Oh, there he is. He doesn't have his phone, so he can't call. That's not what the story was from Lewis. Lewis says, no, we went down that road. There's some question how Lewis would even know we went down that road. You know? Nobody said that Lewis was ever told that. But he went down that road. Now he comes back and he says Lewis was a school bus driver yesterday. I'm trying to do a very good job with that. She sees somebody wiping a car in that early morning hour. He's not wearing black, he's wearing white. Now, the way that testimony came out was pretty weak, but that's what she said. And she said, try to ask her, but she said that she thought it was a Publix employee. It may have been a Publix employee. They were agreeing. So where we're at is that now he's lost sight, they've gotten back together, and now he's in the car driving. And I'll just point this out to you now. Two huge pieces of evidence are in this trial. They're huge. One is what happens next with Louis Toledo saying to Tyshawn, I snapped. I'm going to submit to you, use your own recollection, you've got great notes, I'm sure. I'm going to submit to you right now. That is literally the only evidence of any intent of any kind attributed to Louis Toledo and any kind of crime of killing anyone. I snap. I snap is not premeditated. I thought about killing my kid and I did. No, it's a snap. Not recorded. We're listening to Tyshawn say it. And the other one, of course, is because the state attorney said, if you ever needed any evidence to believe that Louis Toledo killed somebody, it's when he said, I'm never telling where the bodies are. I'm coming to that. Not recorded. It's bad luck. Tyshawn, now, according to Tyshawn, they don't talk. He's freaking out. to some dumpster in some apartment complex, and Lewis gets out of the car and he's dumping bags in the dumpster, and he's got the trunk pad and he's dumping. They don't talk. He doesn't say, "What do you mean you snapped? Where's your wife? Why are we putting her car here?" He doesn't talk.
Mr. Dean, if you'll find a place to finish the call.
Yes, Your Honor. Just, I'll wrap it right up and we'll take a break. We don't talk. He goes to the dumpster and he says, "Why are we at this dumpster?" No, he doesn't say anything. We don't talk. I'm freaking out. The more innocent you are, the more you're going to talk. Why take me back to the land? If I think you've done something, get me out of this car. I'm not getting back in. You pull it. Just leave me here. Doesn't do that. He doesn't talk. Now he says, this is important, and we'll take a break. This is really important. It's the things you can see in the evidence that don't change because people are saying it. Louis Toledo now is driving back to the land to go home. He doesn't want Louis to take him home. He wants to get out before the 7-Eleven. Before the 7-Eleven. Did you see the tape of the 7-Eleven? He doesn't want to be on tape with Louis in his car. He gets out because that camera shows the whole parking lot. No, he wants to walk the few feet left to the 7-Eleven. That's crazy. If you're innocent. We can take a break right now. Thank you.